1945 saw the birth of two remarkable Scottish women who have gone on to make major contributions to the field of art and design in Scotland and internationally. Dorothy Hogg, born Troon, Ayrshire, and Norma Starszakowna, born Cross Hills in Fife. Each has, through innovative design and inventive craftsmanship, enlarged understanding of their particular field, jewellery and printed textiles respectively, whilst simultaneously pioneering new approaches to design education through developing and running major college departments in Edinburgh and Dundee. Central to their work has been an understanding of the importance of drawing, in the widest sense, to creative practice, and I was delighted when both agreed to participate in Lines from Scotland. As Fife Contemporary prepare to reopen the Lines from Scotland exhibition in Dunfermline on the 15th of August, it feels fitting to conclude this short series of online curatorial insights with a focus on these two pioneering women. Seen to the left of this picture, with the potter Alison Britton and curator Kathleen Slater, at the opening of a show at the then V&A Craft Shop in London. Talent development in the creative arts as a subject has long intrigued me. We encourage very young children to draw and paint as an essential element of their development, but rarely focus on those who show exceptional promise, unlike, say, in fields such as music, where early talent is often spotted and hothoused through specialist educational programmes. Starszakowna remembers, "From the age of 2 I drew with anything that came to hand. Pencil, pen on scrap paper, sticks in mud or snow, coal dust on pavements, even scissors on my mother's tablecloth." Her early talent for drawing was given dramatic context when she clung to the door handle of her local nursery school, then attended by her older sister, screaming to be allowed to get in at all the paints, paper and all the riches she saw inside. The enlightened nursery teachers let her in, and art school was mentioned. This sketch was one of her first to be completed at not quite 3 years old. Hogg remembers that her father and his father before him both ran jewellery retailers in Troon, and that her father used to give her and her brother drawing challenges, as he was himself a naturally talented artist, but had lacked the opportunity to train as one. Her older brother also set Dorothy drawing challenges, including the remarkable instruction to his sister to lay out the formal gardens of Hampton Court Palace in green seaweed on the local beach. Sadly, of course, there is no record of this early work. Unlike the Fife nursery, the local Ayrshire primary school Hogg attended was, in her words, grim, and the art was not part of the curriculum. In the early 1960s, both women enrolled at art school, Dorothy at Glasgow School of Art and Norma at Duncan of Jordanston in Dundee. Dorothy's early drawing talent had been encouraged and developed at Marr College Secondary School in Troon. She remembers creating lino prints every year for the school magazine, and was also supported by her parents, for whom drawing and making were part of everyday life. Whether, in her mother's case, knitting complex Sanka pattern gloves, or her father's talent for drawing gorillas from memory. She remembers, "I drew all the time when I wasn't making clothes or helping out in one of the shops." Norma's Polish-born father used to hold her up as a child to paste hand-drawn and printed political posters on lampposts in late 1950s Fife, seeding the idea of drawing as a social activity with purpose. Something which the textile historian Mary Schuster later described as catalysing this artist's powerful connection to the socio-political potency of calligraphic symbols and graphic ephemera of all kinds. Her family, however, did not see art school as a suitable path for their daughter, and a 15-year-old Norma had to support herself financially to attend the final 2 senior years at secondary school in order to gain the necessary qualifications for going to art school. In the early 1960s art school education, there was a 2-year foundation where drawing projects, Hogg remembers, were wide-ranging, replicating Trajan common letter forms, researching the history of architecture through notebook illustrations and life drawing. Life drawing was central, and she remembers her tolerant parents being regular sitters to the refrains such as, "Don't put in all my wrinkles." This thread drawing by Hogg dates from her GSA days and portrays one of her fellow students. Starszakowna also did regular life drawings, with these sketches dating from her studies at Dundee. Unsurprisingly, given Hogg's family background, she gravitated towards jewellery as her specialist subject. Starszakowna was drawn to textiles because of their ubiquity from swaddling cloth to shroud, and by the excitement she felt at new processes and materials that were being discovered at the time. Both women excelled at art college, and both were granted coveted places at the Royal College of Art in London to deepen study of their chosen field. But, sadly, no grant was forthcoming to support Starszakowna, so instead she established her own textile and interior design studio in Dundee in 1966. Drawing, Hogg remembers, at the RCA was less prominent as a discipline, and test pieces and experiments in metal became more important. In some ways, the jeweller's sketchbook of metal test pieces from Hogg's studio included in this exhibition reflects this broader and deeper understanding of how ideas can be worked through not just with pen and pencil, but in different materials handled in different ways. This silver and labradorite necklace, now in National Museum Scotland, was completed following graduation from the Royal College. When Hogg took up post in 1985 as head of jewellery and silversmithing at Edinburgh College of Art, she was able to build on her enlarged sense of drawing as a means of creative development through establishing portfolio as a core part of the ECA curriculum. This was a marvellous category, she reflects. It was so non-descriptive, an open category. Students responded to this exciting personal part of their work. You could build anything from a life drawing portfolio to multimedia photographic collages, but drawing had to be part of it. Increasingly through this approach, Hogg and her colleague Bill Kirk attracted students who began to see jewellery as an expanded expressive field as much as a narrow exercise in product design. Edinburgh students began to take gold at many national and international competitions throughout the 90s, and their diverse, successful subsequent careers reflects that. Starszakowna had lived as a textile student in a derelict house in Lochee, once the centre of Dundee's jute industry. The debris of machine cogs, wall sketches from dismantled looms, improving words to the workers, were traces found by her in the decaying buildings. Her first 2 years of independent practice were also in this part of Dundee. She photographed the garage door that became part of the graffiti shutters work shown in the exhibition and illustrated here. She remembers the patchwork of materials used, the graffiti courtesy of the Lochee Fleet Gang and others, and it reminded her of the poverty and ingenuity of all the people who had worked there through time. She says, "I continue to be fascinated by the history of all these people who once lived and worked here. It informs most of my work." Art education in the last decades of the 20th century was a very different place to today. There was an active rota of visiting tutors as well as resident staff. This worked well not only for students, but in other ways too, as it gave independent artists and designers a regular connection to a creative learning environment, as well as a modest income. Both Hogg and Starszakowna started working as part-time or visiting lecturers early in their careers, and, although education became more central to their careers, they both continued to balance this with very active studio and wider professional lives. Hogg created a series of works in 1994 for a major exhibition at the Scottish Gallery in Edinburgh on the theme of balance. Spirit-level brooches with moving parts, pod necklaces where you could adjust elements to achieve a different balance of forms. These works, as the artist now acknowledges, reflected that regular search for balance in busy lives. An added element to balance for both women was family life. Hogg has one son with sculptor and musician Lachlan McCall, and Starszakowna too with the printmaker, artist and design professor Andy Taylor. Starszakowna reflected ruefully in a Glasgow Herald interview in 1990, "Some people presume it is easy. I do sometimes feel I am scrubbing the floor with a toothbrush." In that year, Starszakowna was head of textiles at Dundee, whilst being simultaneously immersed in a major design commission for Winchester Cathedral with Issey Miyake and Dan Sutton. Anita Taylor, the recently appointed Dean of Duncan of Jordanston College of Art and Design, Dundee, talks about the significance of drawing as a critical means of investigation, and has devoted much of her career to ensure that drawing in all forms is visible and fundamental to art college curricula. She is founder of the internationally renowned annual Jerwood Drawing Prize, which still operates under new sponsorship as the Trinity Boy Drawing Prize, and is co-author of the book Drawing, published by Castle in 2003. Taylor emphasises the importance of the visiting tutor model and remembers invigorating sessions with Gillian Ayres and Paula Rigo at the RCA, where she was a painting and drawing student. The first of her family, like Hogg and Starszakowna, to go to art college, Taylor sees drawing as a primary activity and works tirelessly to ensure the female voice is heard clearly in this field, with drawing no longer a guilty secret. It is encouraging to have her voice to guide contemporary art school education in Scotland. Characteristic of both Starszakowna and Hogg is their determination that young people should have their talents nurtured and their voices heard. And this was realised in so many ways, not just within the art college walls, but beyond. In 1985, for example, Starszakowna converted a derelict shop space in Dundee into a printed textile workshop and retail space to support a postgraduate year for the development of ideas and samples by promising students. Hogg, from the late 1980s onwards, was taking graduate work to international fairs and exhibitions in Munich, creating specific exhibition opportunities with leading galleries such as Gallery Marseille in Holland and Leslie Gray's in London. Her ability as a curator took further shape in two touring exhibitions, 100% Proof 2001 and 2005 respectively, that toured in the US and the UK, showcasing jewellery and silversmithing by recent graduates, alongside significant work by established makers. I have been fortunate to work directly with Hogg as co-curator on two jewellery projects, A Sense of Jewellery at the Goldsmiths Centre, London 2015, and 50 Secrets of Magic Craftsmanship at Lion and Turnmill, Edinburgh in 2017, both immensely instructive and interesting. Hogg is pictured here at the Goldsmiths Centre opening in 2015. From the 1990s, public collections began to actively acquire work by both women, including the V&A London, National Museum Scotland, Aberdeen Art Gallery and the Whitworth in Manchester. International exhibitions, public commissions, wide-ranging advisory roles all grew in number and importance. Starszakowna moved to take up a post as Director of Research at the London Institute in 1999, completing her career in education as Director of Research, Art, Architecture and Design at the University of Lincoln in 2005-08. Hogg was awarded an MBE for services to the arts in 2001, Personal Chair at ECA in 2004, a Sackler Residency at the V&A in 2008, and a Lifetime Achievement Award from Goldsmiths in 2010. In 2004, Starszakowna installed Hinterland, commissioned by the Scottish Parliament for its newly built and inaugurated building. 18 digitally and screen-printed silk organza panels explore the landscape, industry and human innovation of Scotland. In the past decade, both women continue to explore and create new works, drawing on their consistent search for visual expression that gives form to their experience of the world. New works often include a return to important themes and ideas from earlier times, reflected, for example, in these square rings by Hogg shown here. On the right is a work in silver and plique-à-jour enamel from the late 1960s. On the left are a series of rings from 2014. The playful geometry of the square fits beautifully on the finger and is typical of the formal innovation Hogg has mastered and refined throughout her career. The importance of their work, both as artists, designers, and as design educators, is underpinned by the practice of drawing. Each has developed talent in 2 generations of designers in Scotland who are recognised globally. All facets of their professional lives have helped to connect and forge new human communities in ways that have made an unparalleled contribution to culture in Scotland and beyond. A final story illustrates the importance of this. Norma has retained her Polish father's name throughout her life, but lost touch with him as a child when he left the family and returned to Poland. In 2009, she was invited to submit a work, Raising Walls, Warsaw, to an international exhibition in Australia entitled Art Cloth Engaging New Visions. Curator Marie-Therese Wisniewski profiled the artist and the work in an online blog. The work, its exhibition, and the online curatorial essay led to Norma being connected to surviving members of her father's second family for the first time. She now has his war medals and photographs of his life in Poland. All this after a gap of over 50 years of not knowing. With many thanks to all artists and the team at 5 Contemporary for their help with this short talk.